Okay, now we're going to hear about heme, I believe.
Right.
Right, Marion, you're up.
I have no presentation, you don't need to look for it, because that is fresh from the press.
Oh, refreshing.
Yes, and we only got the word at the beginning of this week, but I managed to get into the project, and it is another, into the program, another UK-funded network, and it is a knowledge exchange network on the ecosystem approach. So are you familiar with the difference between the ecosystem service approach and the ecosystems approach, which comes from the Convention of Biodiversity, which had 12 principles, but DEFRA, which is a Department for the Environment and Rural Affairs, they reduced it in their action plan of 2007 to 5 main principles. So the 12 principles from CD are clustered together into 5 principles. In the action plan 2010, they felt they needed to extend these principles to the 6th one, which was actually active stakeholder engagement. Yeah. So with these action plans, they provided or gave funding to a project which was called MBED, which I happened to lead and just finished and put the report in last week. And MBED was looking at the added value an ecosystem approach actually does to what we are doing at the moment. So there is a kind of nervousness in government at the moment, and I hope I get this right. I'm not a governmental person, I'm from the university. But there is this nervousness that we talked a lot about ecosystem services, but it is time to actually prove that we are doing something better to what we did so far without using the word ecosystem service. And I think this is where all these initiatives are coming from. So within MBED, we had 4 demonstrator projects which we observed over 2 years and see how they applied these principles, these 6 principles across what they were doing. So we had one in a water, payments for ecosystem services along a river. We had a marine example who needed to establish a conservation area. We had a green infrastructure in the north, and another area which tried to connect people with the value nature was giving them. So they had all slightly different backgrounds, but we tried to see what combines them and lessons learned. And yesterday in the workshop, if you were in workshop 3 with me, we had this thing between, it is a communication tool, it helps a lot to communicate, but we also realized that there is a lot of things which is still not known also on the science side. So Yoshi also said it's a lot about communication, but one major lesson learned was also that we actually don't know how to do it. Yeah, so there is this lot, everyone is by now aware of ecosystem services. In the UK they even use it in the news. Yeah, it's almost like the people on the street using these words. It's much more easier than biodiversity. But if you talk to practitioners or if you talk to decision makers, there's also this kind of fuzziness. You know, they tried to engage us and they think they know what they're talking about, but then on Monday morning at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, what am I actually doing with this? And I think this is where this key network came around. So we already heard from Ian about the VNN, about the very program of BEST, which is both funded by Research Council, so does have an emphasis on research, but government also felt that besides this, there needs to be a network who tries to engage the science to the people who need to do it on Monday morning. So what are we doing? This project, as I said, we just got the announcement letter on Monday. It is led by a partnership of natural scientists, social scientists, and more in integrating people, which is the National Capital Initiative with Rosie Hales and Bruce Howard. It is the our social scientist Rob Fish from Exeter, and this is Roy Haynes-Young, who you also met yesterday, and me from Nottingham. What we are trying to do is to facilitate a process. We have a few ideas how we are going to do this over the next 2 years. We have only £300,000, not quite as much as those guys here. It is for 2 years, it might go on for 4 years, but what we are trying to do is to actually find out what people who need to apply it on Monday morning actually need from us. And it might be that they need more clarification on the valuation side. It might be that they need more guidance of actually how to start. Does mapping help? And there was a lady also saying that we talked about a lot about standardization, which we try here in Keen to bridge this. I think we need to provide a common understanding. We need to show that we are very confident in what we are talking about, but we also need to be very open to the case-specific situation. So MBET also showed why there are similarities. You always need to be context-specific, and you need to have a whole range of, I don't want to say just toolbox, that sounds a bit too much used. You know, it's not just a toolbox, you put a question in, you get an answer out. But we need to develop a whole set of answers in all different situations. And so I think Keen might be the component to the more research-led part to try to provide people what they could do on Monday morning to solve their problems. Because through the action plan and through the white papers, more and more people are obliged to apply it. So there is a bit this gap of needing to do something but not fully understand what I'm actually having to do.
Thank you very much.
Papers out here. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you. Marion? See you stay in the middle there. Look it up here.
Hello everybody, my name is Marion. I'm from the UFZ in Germany, and I'm very pleased today on behalf of all the partners of our project to present you what we have done so far. So at the beginning, I would like to introduce you to a few facts about our project. So it's not a research per se project, but it's a coordination and action project funded by the FP7 project. Program, and it started officially in November 2010, but practically actually in the spring 2011, and it will end in April 2014. It's coordinated by the UFZ, and it's composed of 18 leading institutions in Europe on biodiversity and ecosystem services, research and governance. So that is the partnership of our project, and so it's very broad within Europe, and it's about 40 experts altogether. So what is the context of our project? Well, obviously we are in a deep shit, as it has been already summarized before, and it's actually come from the realization that much of the available science and experience is actually not being effectively used, and that interfaces between science and policy must be significantly improved. So then the general aim of the project is actually to better link our biodiversity and ecosystem services knowledge, and to link this knowledge to biodiversity governance across Europe. And how do we plan to do this? We plan on developing and testing a prototype of network of knowledge, which we call Biodiversity Knowledge Network. And this to inform policy making and economic actors in the field of biodiversity and ecosystem services. But first of all, what is a network of knowledge? A network of knowledge is a concept that's been designed by the EPBRS through first a workshop and then a concept note in 2009. And the idea behind was to bring together existing organizations and processes in a broad and flexible way. And the main purpose was to improve the science policy interface. So then we came up with some kind of prototype of what we think what a NOC will look like. So it's a draft. We finished drafting last week, so there are many, many challenges. And we are here today, and we have been working yesterday in a special session to have a broad consultation and have feedback of the as much as possible from the community that we call the biodiversity community. So first of all, we need to come back to the definition of what